Well, hey, diet disruptors. I am so thrilled about what we are going to talk about today. But this is going to be a little different than any of our previous episodes. And let me tell you why. So all of us diet disruptors that are in our free Facebook group or follow our podcast or our Instagram page at Disruptive Nutrition, we're all a family for sure. And any one of our clients that work formally with us are part of our membership group. And that membership group is super special to us. My coaches and I live there. We are deeply engaging with all of our clients that are a part of it. And every single month, we bring on a new guest coach that helps us to dig into an aspect of what we're learning in another way. And so we teach three major concepts in our programs. We teach how to serve your body, how to serve your mind, and how to make sure you can do it for the rest of your life. Okay, those are the three: mind, body, and sustainability. And so every single month, we bring on a guest coach that helps us to dig into those areas. And I was re-listening to one of our guest coaches from earlier this year. Her name is Sarah Ball, and she's a functional medical practitioner. She loves what we teach. She's all about blood sugar stabilization. She is all about our bodies kind of being that temple of health and just getting ourselves to feeling amazing. She's incredible. We've worked on many projects with lots of common clients together. And she came on earlier this year to our private membership group to really teach and dig into concepts around our hormones, around menopause, and around how we can really look at our food during different stages or cycles of our lives to make it work for us. It's absolutely incredible. And so as I was re-listening to this coaching call for like the fifth time, I thought, this is really too good for me not to share with all of my followers. I don't typically do this. We have these amazing guest coaches that I save for our members. Our members are really committing at a different level, right? And I want to give them that value. But this, I almost felt like it was not fair to share this with all of you. So I want you to get a notebook. I want you to get paper. I want you to be ready to be able to listen and take notes, because what Sarah teaches will help every single woman. And I will say man as well, because men, when you can understand this is going to make so much more sense for you within your relationships with your wives. And so for all of us, especially as we get older, we need to understand more about our bodies, why they do the things that they do, and how we can just really celebrate what it is that we have been made out of and how to use our body to the best possible way. So Sarah just really, she is so organized. She is such an amazing teacher, and she just gives so much of herself to people. And so that is what you're going to get from her. So dig in deep. I promise you, if you at all care about your body and want some kind of understanding of why your body does certain things, where we are with hormones, and how you can use food in kind of a layered way, like a deeper way than even what we talk about on a regular basis, to truly get to your optimal health. She talks about how what we teach is that foundation, PFC every 3, blood sugar stabilization. But then from there, there's a whole nother level that we can take it. And she outlines it all. All right. So enough talking. I can't wait to introduce you to my good friend and colleague, Sarah Ball. She is absolutely incredible. And, it's a little bit of a rare moment that I'm pulling something out of our membership archives to share with you. So I would love to know what you think about it, your comments about it, what you've learned, because it's a pretty special opportunity. All right, you guys, I'm going to be watching along with you. So go ahead and comment and tell me what you think. All right, stay tuned. Sarah Ball is next. Well, hey, my Diet Disruptor members. All right, you guys, I am so excited about our guest coach this month. This might go down as my favorite guest coach. I know that's hard to say because we've had so many great ones, but wait until you see what Sarah has for us. And it's so timely because it's right in the things that we've been talking about around our metabolism, and especially those of us going through menopause. But really, this is going to be an amazing session for all women, and even some men who can understand women better, I think, after this. So Sarah Ball, let me tell you, about Sarah and her titles, because she's the real deal. So she's a functional medicine practitioner, and get this one, you guys, she's a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner as well. This is going to be gold. I am so excited about everything that Sarah has planned. She has a full-on training for you guys this month. And so this isn't going to be an interview with me and Sarah. This is Sarah teaching. Right within her zone of genius is educating, and she's super excited. Sarah, hi.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, Carrie, with you and your crew at Disrupted Nutrition. And I just love what you do, and what I do with hormones just pairs perfectly with it. So thanks for having me.
It does. So I met Sarah back a few months ago. It's like 6 months ago now, we were just realizing. And it's amazing how time flies, especially during COVID. But Sarah is just an amazing resource, and we are just blessed and so excited that she is able to take what you all know, and she's going to add so much to it. So get a pen and paper out, sit down and get like your tea and fizz or whatever it is that you're drinking, or your clean crafted wine, whatever it is, and just take in everything that she has to share. All right, Sarah, I am going to give this to you. I may jump in a little if I have a couple questions, but let's do this. I'm super excited, especially because like I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter, both of whom have their periods and their cycles, and this is going to be so important for them. And then for all of us that are getting older, we are really going to dig into female cycling syncing, right?
Yes, that's exactly what we are digging into. So we're digging into female cycle syncing, and this is for premenopausal women, postmenopausal women, and also, like you said, the men out there who want to understand women better. And we're going to be diving deep into our hormones, different phases of our cycle, and then also what that means and how we can optimize our nutrition, our exercise, our work, and our tasks to really tap into our hormonal advantage. Because throughout the years, I know many of us have been really taught or have experienced a lot of, hormonal disadvantages, hormones going chaos. So we tend to kind of look at our hormones like they're a bad thing, or look at our cycle like it's a bad thing. But we're going to switch that today. We're going to do a 180, and we're going to look at our cycle like it is something that can serve us and something that can really rejuvenate our hormones and our gut health. So I'm super excited to dive in and really educate you guys, and not only educate you on the cycle, but how you can implement these action steps starting today.
I just always say, like, as women, we are given this amazing body. And sometimes we like hate on ourselves, but our body can do miraculous, amazing things. And it's not just about surviving, it is about literally doing what we can to thrive in this body that I wouldn't trade for any man's body in the world.
I totally agree with you. Our body has a beautiful innate intelligence and knows exactly what it needs to do, when we take out the things that are hindering us from healing and we put in the good stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm going to share my presentation here. I'm just going to pop this up, make sure you can see it. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, we're good. So we are focusing on female cycle syncing hacks for optimized metabolism, hormones, energy, and productivity. So who doesn't want all that, right? We want it all, and we can have it all. That's the most amazing thing. All right, so I just want to briefly introduce myself and who I work with. I help women who are struggling with burnout uncover the root causes of their digestive distress, hormonal chaos, so they can feel energized, connected to their body, mind, and spirit again, and actually feel good again. I can't tell you how many people come to me and they just tell me, Sarah, I just want to feel good again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mind, body, and spirit. We talk about that all the time.
Oh, I love it. I love, what you're sharing with me, like what you have in your programs. And it's just so important to have that piece. I mean, there's 4 layers of healing: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And the reason behind what I do, I just want to share briefly, like, what the heck is functional medicine? This might be the first time you're hearing about it. Maybe you've heard about it, you've Googled it. I just want to break it down very briefly here. So what I do is I found out the why behind hormone imbalances. But to understand that, we have to take it back and really understand what conventional medicine is. So we've all been to the doctor, we've all had our primary care physician, we've been to specialists. So that's what conventional medicine is. And we might go to the doctor with low energy, maybe the outer thirds of our eyebrows are thinning, we're losing hair, we're gaining weight, we're just not feeling good. And let's say your doctor diagnoses you with hypothyroidism. So that's a really common diagnosis. I have been myself. And let's say they throw a medication at you like Synthroid. And now, don't get me wrong, I am not against conventional medicine. I actually have conventional medicine practitioners on my team, but that is not the only way that we go about things. So they'll get a medication, and then that's really great for maybe acute care, so care in the moment, or disease management. But we don't do disease management around here. We help get you to optimal health, which is completely possible. And so what we do is we take, on the functional medicine side, we take symptoms and diagnosis, let's say all that other symptoms and the diagnosis of hypothyroidism, for example, and we ask the question, why is that happening in your body? And we really understand that every symptom is a sign of imbalance in the body. And when we can take out those splinters or take out those stressors in the body, that could be in the form of gut imbalances or hormone imbalances, heavy metals, toxicity, we can thrive and we can be in the absence of disease. We do that for food as medicine, lifestyle, mindset, very similar to what you're doing here, mind, body. But the special thing that we do is functional diagnostic testing to get to that why. And then, of course, we come up with a personalized plan of action. And today we're focused all about the hormones today. And cycle syncing, to just briefly tap into what this is, cycle syncing is a strategy. It's not a diet. And I know, disruptive nutrition, you guys are not dieters. You hone in on lifestyle changes that can really change your life, like balancing your blood sugar. That's the first step in actually balancing your hormones, believe it or not. But when it comes to cycle syncing, it's not a diet, but rather it's a strategy that we can utilize as women each month to optimize our hormones and tap into our hormonal advantage. And who can benefit from this? Premenopausal women and actually postmenopausal women. Now, postmenopausal women aren't going to have the same 4 phases of cycle, but what they do have is their moon cycle. And believe it or not, back in the day, thousands and thousands of years ago, they didn't call it your menstrual cycle, they called it your moon cycle. So if you want to switch that term, I know I've switched that term, it's a lot more positive and connected to nature. We are women and we're cyclical beings. So no matter you're pre or postmenopausal, we still have a cycle. But it's really ideal for women who are struggling with infertility, PMS, and really painful periods or irregular cycles. That was me for many years. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, thyroid conditions, weight loss resistance, that weight loss that just will not come off, chronic fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, burnout, and then also digestive issues. If you're experiencing bloating, constipation, and stomach pains, you can benefit from cycle syncing and getting really in tune with your biological rhythms. So you might be thinking, do I have a hormonal imbalance? So I want you to take a look here and see how many of these stand out for you. How many of these are you currently experiencing or have you experienced in the past? Anywhere from weight gain to fluid retention and bloating to blood sugar issues, right? Feeling like that afternoon crash or just being more hypoglycemic and just being tired. Brain fog, low libido, that's a huge one. PMS symptoms, cravings, whether they're salt or sugar cravings, sleep disturbances, insomnia. These are all signs of hormonal imbalances. So there's a lot of them, and I'm sure all of us have experienced at least one of these. I know, Carrie, you're shaking your head.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's amazing how even the way that we connect too, because we were talking about how like blood sugar stabilization and what we teach around clean eating and all of that is that foundation, is that first step. And if that helps all of those things, great, then great. That's the first step in balancing your hormones. But if there's still some unanswered questions, there's still some of these things that are happening. This is why Sarah is so important to us, because we know we've got our nutrition down, right? We know we're doing what we need to for our body and our blood sugar. And if we're still having some of the stuff, we've got to dig deeper. And I don't want y'all just necessarily getting put on medication or necessarily hormones when there's this strategy or the strategies that Sarah teaches could really take you the next step.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. You're doing all the amazing foundational work. And if you find that with doing that, you obviously are getting a lot better. But if you do find that maybe you're not getting to where you want to, there's always a why behind that. And that's why we dig a little bit deeper. So it's really a holistic approach, and it goes hand in hand with what you guys are doing. So you might be wondering, what does my menstrual cycle look like? Like usually what we learn in high school in health class is like, you know, we get a period and, you know, we could get pregnant and, you know,
Or from like our
ovulation.
teenage friends while we're going through it, right? Like that is like, there's not a lot there that we get to learn about.
Yeah, there's not a lot of education and full disclosure, and don't feel bad about it if you're in your 50s or 60s, but I learned about the phases of my menstrual cycle. I was age 28. So this is not something that we learn when we should be learning when we're teenage girls, when we're getting our cycle. So there's so much to learn about our bodies. And I really hope this is empowering for you guys. But we're going to go over the phases of the menstrual cycle and how to really optimize these phases so we can optimize our hormones with exercise and food, and also general tasks and work-related things. So if you're an entrepreneur, like I would start cycle syncing your schedule. I know that's personally what I do. Or, you know, if you're in the working environment, you can really start to sync as well in the best way that you can. And we have 4 different phases. I'm going to go over the first 2 phases. Now, let's just start here. You have your period, and however long that period lasts, your period ends, and we have phase number 1. And this is the follicular phase. And this phase lasts between 7 to 10 days. And the meaning behind this is a fresh start, a new beginning. So that feeling of new freshness, and it really rejuvenates us, you know, to get out in the world and really complete tasks and get things done. And there's certain foods and there's certain exercise that is really beneficial during this phase. So the foods that are beneficial are focused on phytoestrogens. And what are those? Those are foods that help us balance our estrogen levels. So let's say, for example, you have high estrogen or low estrogen. These phytoestrogen foods will bring your estrogen and balance them out into the middle. It's very similar to like what adaptogens do. They do this similar thing with our cortisol hormone, which is our stress hormone. It helps us balance out that stress hormone. And some foods that do that are carrots and zucchini and avocado, cherries, cashews, flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, chicken, eggs, olives. So there's an abundant amount of foods that do this and that are also probiotic rich. And those are the really good gut bugs and bacteria that our gut needs. So probiotics are the happy gut bugs that feed our gut microbiome. And our microbiome is like a unique thumbprint. So we all have a different thumbprint. We all have a unique microbiome, and we need those probiotics to make our gut nice and happy.
Okay, so how do we know that we're in this stage?
Yeah, so you know that you're in this stage after your menstrual cycle is complete. So after your period is complete.
Okay.
So let's say, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about like those people that aren't getting their periods anymore.
Yep.
Or, you know what I mean? Like there's some signs to know that you're there, right?
Oh yeah. So we'll definitely address that.
Great.
So what I will say, so if you are cycling regularly right now, this is right after your period's complete. Let's say your period's 4 days, and this is when your new cycle starts in phase 1. If you are not cycling, or if you are postmenopausal, you want to go with the moon. Okay. And how do you learn, you know, what stages are the moon? You can Google that, you know, what stage is the moon in right now? And the 2 key ones are going to be the full moon and the new moon. Okay. So the new moon, if you are not cycling or you're postmenopausal, we want to act as if the new moon is when your period happens. Okay. So that new moon, on the day of the new moon is when you will start that follicular phase, phase 1. Or maybe it's the day after that new moon. Okay. So that's how you can really start cycle syncing as a woman who does not have her period. I didn't have mine for 2.5 years. And, you know, I went through a really hard time after I went off of birth control. So keep that in mind. So what you want to do is you want to start phase 1 on the day of the new moon or the day after the new moon. And you can, again, look that up on Google, see when that new moon phase is coming forward.
Do you feel like, sorry, but when I know I haven't been tracking, I actually had been tracking for a really long time based on the moon because I don't get my period and I was tracking it. You're motivating me to get back onto that. But I noticed the other day when I worked out, I think it was Friday, it was just like, I had so much more strength. like I was able to do so much more than I normally could do. And I think I got to recognize that, because that happens to me. I'm always like, gosh, every once in a while I feel like really strong. But I'm
Wow.
wondering if could it be during this phase? Would that be
100%. Yes, it could totally be during this phase. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's really important to mention.
I'm writing all of this down.
Yeah, many of us are doing the same exercise program day in and day out, right? Like no exercise programs really take this into account. So it's really up to us to, put this into our own hands and utilize our cycle in a really powerful way. But what I will tell you, it can be overwhelming at first when we don't have our cycle. So just sync that with the new moon, see how you feel. There's no perfect way to do this. It's just really starting to sync and see how your body flows with that. But as far as the exercise goes, in this follicular phase, we're all about heavy weights. We're able to take a lot heavier weight. We're able to do more volume and intense workouts. We're able to pump out that cardio hit, like, burpees and all of these sweaty workouts, like boot camps, we're able to tolerate like you won't believe during this phase of our cycle. And what's really interesting is like, if we're doing the same workouts day after day, month after month, we have days where we're just tired.
Yes.
Where we just feel like we can't, like that 20-pound weight feels like a 40, 50-pound weight one day.
Yeah. And then we kind of feel like a failure. We kind of feel bad about ourselves. Like, it must have been something I've been eating or I haven't been on it. But really, it's just recognizing our body and where it is, listening to our body. That is so awesome. That is mind blowing.
Yeah, the key is listening to your body and seeing where you're at. And this is why it's so helpful to see where you're at in your cycle. And if you haven't started tracking your cycle, I do suggest that you start now if you are cycling regular at this point. If not, go with the moon cycles, go with the new moon being that follicular phase. But yeah, we can beat ourselves up when we're like, oh my gosh, my day 1 is not my day 10. And we chalk it up to willpower, and then we think we're a failure, and then that goes down that downward spiral. But in reality, our body, when it's going through hormonal fluctuations, it can tolerate more. So like in our follicular phase, like, our testosterone's a little higher, so we're able to handle the heavier weights.
Oh, okay.
Our estrogen is not through the roof, so we're, it's a little on the lower end. So our testosterone is balanced well, our progesterone's balanced well, so we're able to handle these things. So hormones play a huge role in this.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. So that was your follicular phase. So that's phase number 1. It lasts about 7 to 10 days. After this phase is ovulation. I know a lot of women are familiar with this because this is when we can get pregnant and have babies. And the window is actually pretty small. There's a duration of 3 to 4 days. But during the ovulatory phase, we are social and we are communication-based beings. It's a time you want to hang out with your friends. It's a time you want to do social engagements or, do a podcast or a live if you're a business owner. It's a time to just like get out there and share and collaborate with people. And it's a really good time, to put on your schedule. Maybe that 1 week is like when you do your engagements with people or you get together with a friend and have dinner. That's a really good week to do that. Diet-wise, we want to start consuming foods that are rich in B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, and fiber. So that's like asparagus and spinach, tomatoes, almonds, pecans, salmon, chocolate. So a lot of, and I said chocolate, dark chocolate. Yes. Really beautiful, has awesome components in it that are supportive with like magnesium and calcium. And why I say this, I'm going to go over what our flow of our menstrual cycle looks like as far as hormones go, but we really want to incorporate support for progesterone. And progesterone is our balancing hormone. It's like our chill, calm, wants everybody to get along hormone. And when our progesterone's in a healthy range, it is awesome. We feel good. We feel like everything's smooth sailing. We're not super irritable or moody or having painful cramps. And our body, if we're planning on being pregnant, is able to hold a healthy pregnancy. So we need progesterone. And how we boost our progesterone is through B vitamins, calcium, magnesium. And believe it or not, just throw in some gut health in here. A lot of our B vitamins are actually produced in our gut. So we want our gut to be healthy as well. Our gut and our hormones go hand in hand. I talk a lot about the gut hormone connection. Then exercise wise, this is a great week to also do some of those high impact group workouts like boot camp, but also, like I said, group workouts. So things that are, they could be virtual. I know with, the state of the world now, or it could be in person, but getting that group dynamic in can be super helpful. Or you could just, do this stuff by yourself as well. But spin, boot camps, HIIT classes are super beneficial right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So those are the first two phases. Then we have the phase on the left, the luteal phase. And this phase is about 10 to 14 days. So it's one of our longest phases. When I do Dutch hormone testing, this is when I test my clients, because it gives us a really great idea of where your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are, because they start peaking up. And this is a time of completion, time of finishing tasks. So what do we have? I hate saying my to-do list. I like to say my manifest list. What is on that manifest list? What are those tasks that we want to complete? This is a really great time to look at that list and start getting things done. Diet-wise, we want to start to consume light, cool, raw food. So kind of think like summer foods, like salads, things that are cooling for our body, smoothies. What these do, they boost detoxification and provide us with antioxidants. During the luteal phase, our estrogen rises, it starts to peak, and our testosterone. And when estrogen rises, but progesterone doesn't bring it back down, we can experience estrogen dominance. And this is where we get really crampy, moody, and irritable. We get painful periods probably around that time. Anxiety, depression can come in. This is where women start to feel kind of yucky in their cycle if their estrogen's really high. So we want to get those foods in that boost your detox pathways. That's going to be cruciferous veggies, like cabbage and cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Also, garlic is beautiful for this. Sweet potatoes and apples, chickpeas. Beef is awesome at this time, grass-fed beef. Sesame seeds and sunflower seeds, turkey, mint. So pretty abundant amount of foods are powerful during this time. And as far as exercise goes, this is where we want to kind of take it down a notch a little bit. We want to start doing some slow strength training and maybe jack up those reps. So maybe the weight is lighter, but our repetition, so we call it the rep effect, is higher. And then once the week, so this can be about 14 days, 2 weeks. So by that second week, we might want to start scaling things back with walks or Pilates or yoga. And hey, I know myself included, when I first heard this, I was like, what? Like, I'm high intensity all the time. Like, what are we talking about here? But I will tell you, if you start tapping into this, not saying you can't do those things, but if you start adding in more of yoga, Pilates, or this like slower scale, you're going to see the benefits. I personally have, within a few cycles, it's amazing how your body really responds quickly.
I love this.
And then your last phase is your menstruation, which we all know, right? This is when the period happens. And, in the moon terms, this is the new moon, right? This is like when the new moon happens, and this duration is 3 to 7 days. Okay. And this is a time of reflection, inward rest, looking inside, a time of relaxation. And I know there's a lot of doers out there like myself where it's hard for us to take that step back. And I will tell you, during my menstrual cycle for years, because I didn't know anything about this, I would go gung-ho all month, and my body always showed the consequences of that, painful periods or just irritability, whatever that would be. And I want you to know that your symptoms that you're experiencing are a sign of something happening. So once we start really listening to the body and we get in tune with our body and what that means, sometimes it means rest, sometimes it means social interaction. So really start listening. Diet-wise, increasing your consumption of protein and healthy fats are huge during this time. So, grass-fed meats, if you eat meat, coconut oil, avocados, low glycemic fruits and veggies, like blueberries. This is a really good time to incorporate warm foods like stews and soups. Foods that are rich in zinc and iron, like scallops or mineral salt. Redmond Natural has a really great mineral-based salt that has electrolytes and potassium and great minerals in it. So that's a salt that I would put on foods. Sea minerals are a big biggie during this time, like kelp. So incorporating some of these types of foods. And as far as exercise goes, what's kind of more optimal during this time, or something you should probably consider incorporating more of, would be just rest or slow rejuvenating exercise like walking, Pilates, or yoga. Not saying you can't do the other exercise, but incorporating more of this and incorporating more rest can be super beneficial.
So we still have these phases after menopause. Is that right?
Yeah, so we still have these phases. Now, they might not be called like the luteal or the menstrual, but we are still cyclical beings. And I'm going to mention that in a moment. But women, no matter where you're pre or post-menopausal, you are a 28 to 30 day cyclical being. And you'll give or take a day or so. We're all a little different there, but that never changes. And that's why I tell women, like in the menopausal years, to start syncing with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, the follicular phase, so right after menstruation is done, which is like the new moon, the day after the new moon's a great time to start the follicular phase. And then, going to ovulation. And then in that luteal phase is more along the lines of when the full moon is out and about. So that is a really, syncing with the moon is super beneficial for menopausal or non-cycling women. You still have phases. On paper, they're not considered to be like luteal or menstrual because we stopped menstruating, but you still go through these phases and you can still incorporate all of what I said in here. Okay, so just pretend like the luteal phase is the full moon and that the follicular is after the new moon. Just kind of pretend that,
right. And I
is
think
a cycle.
One of the things that I realized when I started tracking this was looking for these feelings in my body, like recognizing when they were coming and when I was stronger in the gym or things like that can give me a sense of where I am.
Exactly. And that's another great way, is like really tapping into your body's wisdom. Yes. Listening to your body. And that's probably going to tell you where you're at in the cycle as well. So if you're not cycling or you're menopausal, let's say you have a week where you're just like so tired, you might be in that end of the luteal or the menstrual,
this
phase.
is so important, especially because it just goes to show how male dominant our world really is, because a male cycle is 24 hours. So they have a cycle too, but really it's 24 hours. And so for them to do the same thing day after day makes sense in a lot of ways. But for us to, just my visual head is already thinking about how each week or so really should be tailored to where I am in my cycle. But our society doesn't focus on that, right? We focus on kind of the day to day and the habits being exactly the same, but this allows us to be thinking a little bit more strategically as women.
Exactly. And I love strategically, like how you said that. This is a strategy, as women to utilize in a very male dominant culture, where we focus on that 24-hour cycle. Yeah. And, even work, like the 9 to 5 work day. Well, that's if you go back in time, that was really meant for men. Right. I think I forget when it was originated, but I know it was male dominant. And obviously a lot of men were working at that time, and it hasn't shifted unless you're an entrepreneur and you can really control that. So yeah, it's super interesting. And, really going into like, why does this matter? This just paints the picture. And this is, the Source Traditional Cooking School had a really beautiful female hormone cycle showing up here. And this just shows like what we go through in the 28 to 30 days that we're cycling. And men are like this, they wake up and their testosterone is high, and then it lowers throughout the day. Their cortisol is high, it lowers throughout the day. What's really interesting with us, it goes up and down throughout the 28 days. So we don't have that 24-hour cycle. It's a 28-day, cycle here. And in the beginning, all of our hormones are a little lower. By ovulation, estrogen starts peaking, testosterone goes up. By our luteal phase, progesterone starts rising and estrogen rises, and then everything drops back down when it's our menstrual cycle. So as you can see, like it's a flow, how that works. And this is not one day, it's a whole entire month. And it's really—
Can you just go back to that for a second? Because
sure.
I think it's so interesting how you were talking about like where we should be doing it a little bit easier, right? Like where we do that yoga and Pilates, you can literally see it right in here. And then when you should be doing heavier strength training, like literally you can see how our hormones are impacting what we should be doing. And we don't listen to that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Exactly. You can see this on like a scientific graph, and
Yeah.
you can feel that in your body. So it's a lot of power once we really start listening, to our innate wisdom within.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And, just reiterating some of these things, just optimizing our hormones. And I view food as medicine. I really do. And our body's not the same each day. Our diet really shouldn't be either. And I love how you hone in on focusing, eating regular intervals. That is so crucial for balancing your hormones and balancing your blood sugar. That's the first step. But our ovaries and uterus also engage in different functions each week of our cycle. So our micronutrients kind of change a little bit. And that's like why I shared with you those foods. Using them as a strategy throughout your cycle is really going to help keep those hormones nice and happy and balanced. And each phase of our cycle actually correlates to different set of proteins, grains, veggies, and fruits. And for example, I'm going to just go back here, but during our ovulation, where estrogen is like, really high, we want to start incorporating more of these detoxification based foods. In our luteal phase, we want to incorporate those detoxification based foods so we can metabolize estrogen well. We want to support progesterone production and also stabilize those blood sugar levels. And when we eat foods, in one phase, that actually leads to support in the next phase. So it's like that gift that keeps on giving. So, if this is something that you do want to incorporate, I'm going to have a lot more information coming on here. Don't pressure yourself or don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect. It's just about adding in some of those foods and allowing your body to make those gentle shifts. It definitely will. And it's something that's going to be compounded over time and be really powerful for you. So how our cycle affects our metabolism, I want to share this with you. It's pretty interesting. Our ability to burn calories actually varies with our hormonal cycle.
Oh,
And
isn't that amazing, isn't it?
I know. So, for my people out there who, again, I'm right on track with you. I don't count calories, no way. And I love how you teach that, not counting the calories, really listening to your body. That's so crucial. But if you do want to know, how your body burns these calories, it can be really beneficial. So the first half of our cycle, our metabolism actually slows down. So in our follicular and our ovulatory phase. And it curbs our appetite and we conserve nutrients because what our body's doing, it's anticipating a possible pregnancy. And whether we're getting pregnant or not,
it's not.
right. And whether you're pregnant or not, it doesn't matter. And also you postmenopausal ladies, right? Pregnancy is not going to happen, but it's also, think about it this way. Creation. We're creative beings as being women. And, it might be like creating something other than a pregnancy. It could be creating something in your life. So think about it that way. And then the second half of your cycle, our metabolism boosts and our energy expenditure rises about 8 to 16%. So that's another like 89 to 270 calories a day. That's pretty significant. And this also means it comes with a increase in appetite and cravings. So my ladies around, their luteal to their menstrual cycle, they start to get some cravings, those sugar and salt cravings. Salt cravings can be really connected to cortisol. Sugar cravings can be connected to blood sugar or gut imbalances, but also they're connected to the shifts in our metabolic structure with our hormones. And if we don't really eat in sync with our biochemistry, we can drop pounds in the first month of your cycle. And then that scale will creep up in the second half. And it's kind of interesting, knowing this and starting to track that, seeing how your body responds. And, to really fire up your body's fat burning ability, we need to really eat the right kind of foods and optimal amounts of foods during those phases. And that can really help you if weight loss is one of your goals or boosting your metabolism. So as we were saying, listening to your body is key. Symptoms are signs of dysfunction in the body. And are you listening to what your body is telling you? So if you don't get anything, I want you to get this, to start really listening to your body. You're going to be able to tap into your cycle naturally. You're going to be able to tap into your innate wisdom of your body naturally if you really start listening. For example, like what you were saying about the workouts. Are you tired? Are you having a hard time getting through your workout? Or, are you noticing that you just need some rest? Well, that could be, your menstrual phase of your cycle or your luteal phase. So really start listening to the body and tapping into that. Now, this is a big question, women who are not cycling, what is happening, right? I didn't cycle for 2.5 years after going off birth control. And at first I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was like, I love my life. I don't have a period because they were terrible before. And so I really, went out to educate myself on this. And this is something that I talk a lot about in the work I do is women who don't have their periods or women who have like PCOS or irregular periods. The first step,
like not just irregular, but also like like irregular could be timing, but also heavy versus light, that kind of thing too.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Heavy versus light. Exactly. Our period is considered to be our 5th vital sign. So, if we're not cycling regularly, or if maybe it's really heavy, or if it's really light, it could mean something. So before we even get into cycle syncing, you can still do it. There are 5 things that I address. Number 1, stabilize the blood sugar. So that is, that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Such an important thing. And that's going to be through food. It's going to be through food and timing and all that. Number 2, addressing nutrient deficiencies. I can't tell you how many women, when I do testing with them for nutrient deficiencies, are low in B vitamins. It's so common. And we need that for progesterone, which is going to help us get our period back.
Do you suggest a B vitamin as a supplement for most women?
Yeah. So I usually don't make random supplement recommendations, but I will say, like, there's a few supplements out there that I would say everybody needs, and that's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is definitely one of them. Magnesium is another one that a lot of women are low in as well. That can lead to more of those cramping or painful periods. So if you are experiencing that, that might be something to consider as well. Okay. Yeah. And then number 3, nurturing your adrenal glands. We call this our HPA axis. It's our hypothalamus pituitary axis. So our hypothalamus in our brain talks to our pituitary gland, which talks to our adrenals. And that should be in really good flow and communication. But many women have dysfunction of this. And that is like classic sign of it is burnout, burnout, physical burnout, mental, emotional burnout, just irritability, anxiety, very, very common. So we just got to get that back in sync. I do that through Dutch testing. But then we also need to support our organs of elimination. So we need to make sure we're having daily bowel movements, which I know, before I never did, that was something I had no idea was normal. And then we need to love up our liver, gallbladder, kidneys, our colon to really get out any excess hormones that we don't want in our body. And then lastly, supporting our gut microbiome. So a lot of our sex hormones like testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, thyroid, insulin, cortisol, a lot of them are either produced or metabolized in our gut. So if our gut's not healthy, our hormones aren't going to be healthy, period. So I really educate on that gut hormone connection as well. Super, super crucial. Women who have bad periods or irregular periods, we always go in gut health. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing how interconnected we are. But there's also another part to it. So there's always like, and I love how Carrie, you address this as well. There's that mental, emotional, spiritual end of things. And, I wanted to briefly touch on this, how energy leaks can affect our hormones. So what are energy leaks? These are anything that's draining your energy out of your body. And we are energetic beings. So we're made up of like 99.9% energy. So we want to make sure that we are supporting that. And this can be through, something simple as not getting enough rest or drinking enough water, or it could be, not maintaining your boundaries and just saying yes when you really mean no, or not asking for help, or having trapped emotions in your body like resentment, bitterness. All of those things can affect, some limiting beliefs are super connected to our hormones, like not feeling good enough. That is connected to our solar plexus, which is the energy center that, there you go, connects to our hormones. So, a lot of these things, just noticing where are my energy leaks? And again, not beating yourself up over this, but just being aware can be a really powerful thing.
I always say that. I just think when you can do, and when you're just self-awareness, whenever I'm speaking to women or doing any sort of like a talk, I always say, what are all the ways that you can get healthy? And, they'll inevitably write all of these things like exercise and nutrition and yoga and vitamins and all of that. Nobody ever writes self-awareness. And to me, that is like the number one foundational way to be able to get healthy. We can't listen to our bodies. We can't understand what's going on if we're not aware. And so I love that you said that, because I think it's just something that we keep passing by.
Yeah. And how do we know what to do if we don't have that self-awareness? And we're just going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall. We're going to be trying like what our neighbor's doing or our best friend's doing, and not, what we need.
What the Google tells me.
Yeah. Or Dr. Google, you got it. Hey, I've been there too. No shame, but it's frustrating. It keeps you caught in what I call the cycle of trial and error, And, what are some ways that we can reestablish hormonal flow from a more lifestyle advantage point? And I talk about this a lot, retraining your circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is your sleep-wake cycle. So in an optimal world, we wake up with the sun and we go to sleep with the darkness, the moon. And our hormone, our sleepy hormone, is called melatonin. And that comes from our pineal gland, which is like right where our third eye is here, right between our eyebrows. And we need melatonin to really focus and have a beautiful circadian rhythm where we're not having those 1 a.m. wake up calls, or we're not like, feeling hungover in the morning, or we're not having trouble going to sleep. And our HPA axis, our hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, and our adrenal glands do a majority of their recharging and recovery between the hours of 10 to 2. And how many people out there are guilty of going to bed after 10? I know I am. But it's, really pulling back and noticing like, wow, my body does a lot of this healing work between 10 and 2. So one of my biggest recommendations is like, try to get to bed by 10. And this might not be every night, but just try it and see how you feel, see how your body responds to this. This is really going to help balance out your circadian rhythm. Also, getting up at the same time every day can be super helpful. Using light therapy. One of my techniques that I love to do is like, I live in Pennsylvania. Sometimes it can be 20 degrees and sometimes it can be 90. So, going outside first thing upon waking, I have dogs, they go outside without sunglasses. I let the sunlight hit my face. That is going to help your melatonin levels. Something as simple as that. Creating an electronic shutdown every night, maybe around 9 o'clock, if you want to go to bed by 10. That blue light can be really disruptive to our melatonin production. And then making our bedroom completely dark. So even little tiny bits of light in our bedroom. Salt lamps are really great, or a just nice soothing light is okay, but a bright blue light can be really disruptive. So some techniques that you can do to balance your hormones tonight, starting this evening. I'm all about, those tangible action steps that don't cost anything too. It's amazing.
I love this because it totally aligns with the things that we say. And I just want people to see like, this is about the last nutritional advice you'll ever need. And these pieces are just confirming this and showing you just how important it is. So I think when you have your why for getting healthy personally is important, but when you understand the why behind the science of what we teach and why it's so important and hear it in multiple ways, you realize there's no other options. This is what I have to do. I'm going to keep going and keep moving forward.
Oh, I love it. And it's ending that cycle of trial and error. And like, you don't need a diet, right? When you have this, your big why, and you also have the information, the education, the science, like it's just, you can't, you can
never go back. You can never go back when you know.
Yeah.
It's like what we were talking about before this, we were talking about wine, and she's like, once you know, you can't go back.
Yeah. Knowledge is power once you know these things, and then you want to share it with everyone else. And that's how I got into this work. It's like, I can't not tell people about this. Like, I feel like we all deserve the right to know this, because our conventional world is not sharing this. Conventional dieting, conventional medicine, none of it is sharing this information.
Exactly. I love this slide. And this goes along with something you're going to give everybody afterwards too, right?
Yes, exactly. So I have a freebie for you guys in a moment, but I just want to explain this briefly here, ways that you can just like start tapping into this right away, because, a lot of us can be go big or go home, but when it comes to this stuff, it's not about that. It's about just like, biting off a little bit, and it's about that ripple effect, that compound effect over time. So, the littlest change is going to pay off. Trust me when I say this. And these are quick strategies. You can start this stuff today. So number one is rotating your veggies only. Let's say like, oh gosh, this is like super, overwhelming. This is like a lot of different foods. That's okay. I'm going to be giving you guys a sheet that gives you all the different types of foods to incorporate during different parts of your cycle, but you might want to just start off with those veggies. That's what I did. So like, during your luteal phase, loving up on those cruciferous, like your cauliflower, radishes, and Brussels sprouts. Menstrual phase, getting those beets and mushrooms and kale and kelp in. Number 2 would be to sync when your PMS strikes. So let's say you do have pretty bad PMS. It's painful, heavy periods, irritable, moody, anxiety. The late luteal phase is typically a time where that happens, when our estrogen's a little bit more elevated. So this is a time, let's say like, I'm feeling really PMSy right now. Start adding in more complex carbs like sweet potatoes or rice and chickpeas and apples. And so many women are so afraid of carbs. And I know you also share this.
We're not afraid of carbs.
I know you guys aren't.
But yeah, I know. Trust me. I talk to them every day and they're like, oh, I can't.
Oh yeah. I'm sure when people enter your world, they're like, what, carbs? And it's like, believe it or not, like you guys are very select few who know that. And many, many women are totally afraid of it, where they're going keto. They're so afraid, and keto is actually really harmful for our hormones over time. So, adding in these carbs is not a problem. It's going to actually really support your menstrual cycle. You're going to feel happier. Headaches are going to disappear. You're going to sleep better. So try that strategy. 3, cycle to curb cramps. So again, if you're feeling crampy, maybe adding in some more omega fats like salmon, grass-fed meats that are really nourishing fats in your body. And then a 4th strategy, maybe that you've heard of this or you haven't heard of this, is called seed cycling. And this is a really easy hack that you guys can start right away. And the first half of your cycle, so that's going to be your follicular phase and your ovulatory phase, when estrogen levels are rising, you're going to consume 1 tablespoon of each per day, flax seeds and pumpkin seeds. And you can just consume them the way you want them. You can throw them in a smoothie. You can do whatever you want. You can put them on a salad, put them in soup, whatever you want to do with them. The second half of the cycle, when progesterone rises, we switch to 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. And that can help us balance our hormones, something as simple as food.
Wow,
So,
I love that.
Really cool strategies. So if that's something you want to try, I would screenshot that, give that a try. I want to see how that goes for you guys. I will tell you, a lot of my clients, sometimes I just start them off with something like that, and amazing how their cycles even come back. So women who are irregular or don't have their cycles, keep that in mind.
Oh my gosh.
So I definitely
want great for my teenage girls too. Like, I'm just so excited.
And I love that, how you talked about your teenage girls. Like, if we can get this into the hands of younger women as well. And I know, a lot of moms out there, or, a lot of people have grandkids out there at that age that are getting their cycle, educate them on this stuff and, start incorporating that. I wish when I was 16, I knew about some of this stuff, right? I knew nothing about my body at that point. So I really want to give you guys, again, more strategies and help with this. And I am offering a free cycle syncing food guide. So I have the 4 phases of the cycle, and then the foods that I would recommend during those phases. And I just, again, consider this like a strategy, like a template. It's not a diet, but it's just incorporating some of those foods. Maybe it's 1 to 3 foods, or maybe it's 5. Just start incorporating those in, or trying that seed cycling. And I will tell you what, you are definitely going to see the benefits in your cycle and in your mood and just in your productivity and energy.
I love that, because you guys, we can put this right into what we already do. We already know food. We understand what we have to do for our body. So this isn't like something new. This is about just being really cognizant about the types of PFCs that you're pairing together during different times of your cycle. And I just think that is powerful and so exciting, especially for people who are like, okay, I'm doing this. I need to get to another level now. Right? Like, what I'm doing isn't quite getting me there. And I know you all have been asking about this for a long time. So finding someone like Sarah and knowing you guys, only you in our membership group get this kind of stuff. And I'm so, so, so excited. Sarah, you're amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad I was able to just share this information with you guys. This is what I love doing, getting this info out to you, getting this in your hands to where you can start this stuff today. Your body is forgiving, and your hormones are too, when we have the right things in our body.
I love it. Okay. So let's just kind of go over where people can find you.
Yeah. So my website is www.resilient-365.com. So you can find me there. You can find information on different programs that I have and my background and also what I offer. I am pretty active on Instagram. So you can find me there. It's Be Resilient 365, or you can find me on Facebook at Resilient 365. So those are all the ways you can connect.
And you have so many different ways that you can work with people. And I know she has a course coming out in May. So like all of this stuff correlates so well with what we do. So guys, everybody needs to follow her and just be connected with her, because just it's a way for us to get to the next level. Sarah, thank you so, so much. I can't wait for everybody I want to hear your comments and what everybody has taken from this. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. Talk soon.